Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be talking about a bunch of DC news. Now, if you see my past movie news segment, I said that there was a lot of DC news that was happening, and that was way before we got way more stuff that was announced by Peter Safran and James Gunn this past Monday. So there's a lot that we have to dive into and look into today. So instead of making one full video with all of the movie news that has happened this whole week, which would be an hour and a half long, I decided to split this up to hopefully make it less than 30 minutes. So without further ado, let's get into some movie news. Now, during the press conference this past week, James Gunn and Peter Safran actually sat down with a bunch of reporters. They asked them questions, and James Gunn and Peter Safran tried to answer the best they could with how much they wanted to give away. So the first question was, how much output of your projects are you going to have in a year? And so they answered they want 2 live-action projects released in a year, and then they also want 1 animated project released in a year for films. So that is something super interesting to me, that we're actually getting 3 movies a year, hopefully soon. This doesn't start this year because we only have Superman scheduled for this year, but starting next year, they're going to have 3 movies possibly. The next thing that they said that they wanted 2 live action shows, meaning projects like Peacemaker or Lanterns. They wanted 2 of those in a year, and then 1 animated project in a year as well. So there's just a lot of things that they want with the DC coming out very quickly. And that means they want 6 projects every year for the next however long they do this, which is mind-boggling to me, because if we've seen Disney's track record, they did the Marvel shows and the movies, and they got burnt out very quickly. The quality was not great. They focused on quantity instead of quality, but I do trust James Gunn, and they're saying they want quality over quantity, which means I don't think that this is necessarily they're going to strive for 6 projects every year. I don't think we're going to get 6 projects every year, but I think that if they have the projects ready to go, we will get them. I don't think that's like a number set in stone, or like, hey, we have to hit 6 projects every year. I think it's just more of that's our goal to give the audience, is 6 projects every year. I am a little nervous about hearing that because, again, quantity over quality is just super difficult these days to actually control. We've seen it through Marvel, Star Wars. So hopefully James Gunn can figure a balance in between those things, and that we actually shoot for quality over quantity. Anyways, that was just a basic overview of how many projects they want released in a year. And so now we're actually going to dive into the Elseworld projects. Starting with the DC Elseworlds projects, we ought to be talking about what is actually Elseworlds in the first place. So Elseworlds is the projects that do not take place in the DCU. This would be projects such as the Batman, maybe the Joker from last year, or even the one before that. All of those take place in a separate universe than the main DCU continuity. So the project I'm about to tell you about does not take place in the new Superman continuity that is about to be released. This is now just its own project that they want to release itself. So the project we're going to be talking about today is actually a sequel to the Constantine movie featuring the Keanu Reeves himself. And to be honest, I never really cared for the first one. I never watched the first one either because I just don't care for the character of Constantine. That's just not my thing. But I know that he is a cult classic for most people. But before the huge reboot of the DCEU actually happened, there was a lot of talks about doing a Constantine sequel, a follow-up from the Keanu Reeves version, and we hadn't really heard anything since, so a lot of us thought that there was just, the project was dead. There weren't a lot of murmurs or discussions about it just in the public, so a lot of us just thought it was not going to happen. But we did get a really interesting development in the story this week from director Francis Lawrence, who is actually the first person to direct the original Constantine film featuring Keanu Reeves, and he said that Warner Brothers does actually have the permits to do this movie now, and that it is actually looking like a very high possibility that this film is actually going to get made. And so, again, I never really cared for the first one, but if you like the very first Constantine movie, you actually might be excited for this. So let me know in the comments below, have you watched the movie before, the original Constantine film, or are you kind of just one that doesn't care about it like I did? To continue the DC Elseworld project discussions, we're actually going to be talking about a new show that was announced this past Monday called My Adventures with Green Lantern. Now, for some of you, that name may sound familiar because My Adventures with Superman is actually the first show in this universe. This My Adventures with Green Lantern is actually going to be a spinoff featuring a new Lantern, and today we're going to be talking about it. So I have the synopsis right here. This show is said to be following a high school student named Jessica Cruz, who has her life upended when a Green Lantern power ring falls from the sky and chooses Cruz to be its champion. However, things get even worse when more debris from the Lantern's ancient space war arrives, along with a lot of their alien foes. Now, I will assume that this show is actually going to be more anime-esque like My Adventures with Superman is. They are trying to move some of the animation team over to this new show to start that one up, which I think will be really cool to see them all kind of cross-reference each other and maybe even combine the shows at some point into the same universe and make their own Justice League. But there is no official release date yet for this show, and we don't really know when it's coming out. They did say one animated project a year, so this could be 3 years from now, it could be 2 years from now, it could be this year. We never know. But that show is being worked on, so let me know in the comments below, did you ever watch My Adventures with Superman? Are you even interested in this show in the first place? Because I know most people aren't, but I actually enjoyed the first 2 seasons of My Adventures with Superman, and I'll start watching this one as well. The next show that we got to talk about is actually a new animated show that was just announced this Monday as well, and this is called Superpowers. Now, this follows different heroes in a school where they're trying to learn and craft their superhero powers, and the roster for these kids are actually Lightning, Plastic Man, Flash, Aquagirl, Green Lantern, and Terra, and I believe a lot of these people are just the younger versions of other characters. So like Aquagirl is the younger version of Aquaman. Plastic Man, we all know who that is. The Flash, I'm assuming this will be like a Wally West version instead of the Barry Allen version. Lightning is from Black Lightning. That's Black Lightning's daughter. And then Terra is from the Teen Titans. And so there's a lot of these different characters, and they're going to be learning to hone all of their powers at the school. It's not confirmed whether this is going to be in the current DCU timeline or if this is an Elseworld project. So there's a lot that we don't understand, but these students will not be without supervision because Martian Manhunter will be the principal for this school. So I'm assuming, based off of that information alone, it's Sky High with Martian Manhunter trying to train these kids to be better superheroes. I don't think this will be in the DCU. I completely believe that this will be an Elseworld project. But if it is, I guess, I don't know. This is an animated project. We don't have a release date for this as well either just yet, but this is being worked on right now, and we have these 2 people working on it, which is Matt Beans and Michael Chang. Matt Beans hasn't done really anything notable quite yet, but Michael Chang actually worked on the original Teen Titans show, and then he also worked on Young Justice. So if this show is not good, a lot of the Young Justice fans will be mad that they canceled it for this project, possibly. Let me know if you're actually interested in this show. I think this will be for younger audiences. I don't think it'll be for adults, but if you are interested in it, go for it. The last animated project that was just recently announced that we'll be talking about today is actually a show called Starfire. Starfire, for those of you who do not know, she's a part of a bunch of the Teen Titans comic books as well as the Teen Titans shows, and she's played an influential part in most of the comic books recently in times, and so she's actually going to get her own origin story in this animated show. And it reads right here that the show follows her adventures after she uses an ancient spaceship she discovers on her home planet of Tamaran to escape her planet and explore the stars. And along the way, she'll meet space bikers, Crush, plant-loving Fern, and the magical princess Emistith, I don't know how to pronounce that, of Gem World. And together, they will uncover the deepest reaches of the DC universe, save space dolphins, surf Technicolor nebulas, and boldly soar into the unknown. So, we actually don't know if this project is actually going to be in the DCU itself, or is it going to be its own animated universe? We don't know, but I do like the idea of we're getting more origin stories as we go along, and even doing this in animated, it'll probably look way better than doing it live action just for right now. We are getting a Teen Titans movie eventually down the line, so if this is set up for it, I'm down to see that and have a typical character that we don't typically get to know. I think this would be a great time to learn more characters that are going to be a part of that team, if that's what the route they're going on. If this is its own standalone story, I think a lot of people will have fun with this. I'm not a huge Starfire person, but if you guys like Starfire, she's going to have her own show, and we don't have a release date yet, but you can watch it when it comes out. So let me know, do you think this project will be in the DCU, or do you think this will be an Elseworlds project? And are you excited to check Starfire out? The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually video games. Now, we did get a Wonder Woman video game announced about 4 years now, and there's been just a lot of work going on behind the scenes. We've seen images of how good the graphics will look. We've seen pictures of how the environments and how you can interact with things, and it looks really good. And they've spent over $100 million on it, and so I was really excited to play this game. It was shut down. It was shut down. We're not getting that game. Wonder Woman game is not happening at all. You see, Warner Brothers actually just shut down their own gaming studio called Monolith Productions, and this is where the Wonder Woman game was being made, and I was really looking forward to playing this game. However, that just won't happen at all. If you remember 2 years ago, however, that James Gunn actually said that the DCU would be getting games in that universe to where they could connect to the movies, and vice versa. And I always really enjoyed that idea. I don't know how it'll actually work, but I always like that idea because I want to play stories that actually influence some of the movies at some point. And so that would be really fun for me to do. And so we actually got a discussion that we heard about saying that James Gunn is actually talking to Rocksteady, and that's a gaming studio who has done the Batman Arkham games. And I've personally only played like the first two. I haven't gone and done all the stories and all of the games, but I liked what I played, and I think if we can lean more on them for the gaming side of things, maybe it'll work out. So with that, what games are you wanting to be set in the DCU? Or is there a character of a game that you're wanting to have in the gaming verse of the DCU? Let me know. I think a Blue Beetle game would be a lot of fun. So that was the majority of our Elseworld projects. So now we're going to actually be talking about the actual DCU, so the DC universe. And the first topic of discussion is actually going to be Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is the first new project of the DCU. It started the new continuity, and it actually ended at the beginning of this year. And if you want to know my thoughts on the show, I have it up on the channel. You guys can go watch it. But in simple terms, I really enjoyed the show. And the way they end it with King Shark being added onto the team, G.I. Robot coming back, I thought it was just really well done. And I couldn't wait to see the second season. And it looks like the second season is being fast-tracked as we speak. A lot of the creative people are saying that they're just trying to crack the story on this second season, which I really think will be really cool if we can get all of these characters back and even do new different dynamics. Like, I'd love to see King Shark and G.I. Robot interact with each other, because those people, I don't even know how they're going to have a real good conversation. But, you know, I just think that it's going to be really, really good. And I'm hoping to see it at the end of next year or beginning of 2027. And they're fast tracking it, meaning that they're writing it now. They're just trying to figure out how to write the story and coming up with the ideas for it. But Creature Commandos, we could be getting it at the end of next year or early 2027. What are your thoughts on the show as a whole for season 1? And then what are you excited for most about season 2? Moving right down the line, we actually did get confirmation that James Gunn is writing his next project for DCU. He said directing, but then he walked it back, and so now he's saying he's just writing a project. And a lot of the reporters that were in the room are actually speculating that this is a Superman follow-up in some capacity, meaning it doesn't even have to be a direct sequel. It could be the world's finest, where it's Batman and Superman teaming up. It could be really anything that you guys could speculate. But he is writing his new project. And to hold us over, however, James Gunn did say that we are going to get a 4-episode Krypto short film series starting soon. And we don't have an actual release date, but if you were to ask me, I think we're going to get at least one of those episodes soon. They are seasonally themed, and they said they're going to be seasonally released, meaning that we'll probably get one at the earliest, maybe March or April, and then I think we'll be getting them until December of this year. There's only 4, and they have been watching them behind the scenes this whole time as they're making this Superman movie. And so I am expecting them to come out shortly, and I don't think the short films will be anything crazy. A lot of the reporters did say that they think this will be on HBO Max eventually, and that's how they're going to release these short films. But overall, they're just saying this is to build hype over the Superman movie coming out later this year. Just some smaller tidbits about the Supergirl film, Woman of Tomorrow. There's really not much going on with it as of this moment, but they did say that they are halfway through filming, which is a really cool positive. And then they also said this was going to be a sci-fi epic, which if you've read the books, you'll know that it looks really, really well done. And then while answering all these questions, James Gunn and Peter Safran both said that we actually won't be seeing Jason Momoa suit up as Lobo for a while, just because they are filming most of this movie inside. They said that if they were filming outside and there was a chance of everything getting leaked, they would have gone ahead and posted something. But for right now, they said they're not planning to announce anything with Jason Momoa as Lobo or showing any first look with him for a while. I wish we could see more of him, but they did say that he just looks exactly like Lobo, so I'm assuming they just painted his face and got him some red contacts, and that was good. So Jason Momoa as Lobo, are you excited? And then have you read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow? Because it was a really well done book. Now, I can't wait for this next topic, because this next project we're about to be talking about is one of my favorite DC projects of all time. Also, one of my favorite shows of all time, and we're going to be talking about Peacemaker. So to continue on where we left off, Peacemaker is one of my favorite shows of all time. I've rewatched it 4 or 5 times now. I'm not one to rewatch many projects because I'd rather just keep watching the new things that are coming out. But I rewatched this one 4 or 5 different times, and I love it every time I watch it. The second season, however, comes out in August of this year, and I could not be more excited. And they said that this season would be tailored more to Christopher Smith as a person instead of him as Peacemaker. They also said that everyone's characters have grown up and been evolved since we've last seen them, so they're not going to be essentially the same way as we remember them. And I'm interested to see if the comedy still works in this. Are they going to even have as much comedy as we think, or are they going to just kind of make it more serious tone? Speaking of comedy, we actually got our first look because it was actually the actor's as aka Diebeard for Peacemaker season 2, and Adebayo's in there as well, but we can't really see much of her. But Diebeard is there. The last bit of information that I actually have for you is that Rick Flag Sr. is actually going to be painted as the antagonist of the show, or the villain of the show for the most part, which will be a really new and interesting light to see him in, seeing that in Creature Commandos at the beginning of this year, he was a hero, and now we can see him in the antagonist light. I just think it'll be a weird switch, and I'm excited to see just different points of views mash. And that'll be really cool for that to happen as well. Let me know if you enjoyed the first season of Peacemaker. I loved it. I know I'm probably the only person to ever say that I'm like a big Peacemaker fan, but I am, and so I'm gonna stand on that ground. So let me know, did you like the first season of Peacemaker? Are you excited that season 2 is returning, or do you think they should have just canceled it when they rebooted the DCEU? For the next show we're going to be talking about the Green Lantern show known as Lanterns. The idea of this show is that they said it was going to be grounded and more of a mystery show, as well as very gritty. I'm not too sure what that means, if it's going to be rated R or whatnot, but I'm interested to see where they take these characters. And they said that this season would actually be 8 episodes. And notice how I said this season, because they did say that this show could go on past these 8 episodes and go on to do some more seasons. I just think it's more about how this show premieres, or the ratings of the show. If it's well received, we'll probably get more episodes. If not, then we probably won't, unfortunately. But that was the first piece of information for the Lantern show. The next piece of information that we did get for the Lantern show is actually our first look at John Stewart and Hal Jordan, along the first images of the Green Lantern ring, because this just started production this past week. And so we were also told that they would explore more of the down-to-earth side of these characters as well as on the job, and that this would be suitable for audiences that don't know any of the lore for Green Lanterns at all. And we've already got Sinestro being thrown in there, so there's just a lot that could happen in this show, and there's a lot of surprises that could be in store. I did read in one article, I don't know if this is confirmed, that they mentioned a bunch of different Green Lanterns and that some may actually pay a visit or a cameo. I know that the Guy Gardner from Superman is actually already going to be in the show, and so he is just one of them. They did say that this was a different tone from Superman as well, and so they like the idea of just having different tones, different types of stories being told throughout the universe, instead of just trying to match all one tone and it being blurred all together, kind of like the MCU has. Because like the Captain America stuff, they do have the different like stylized tones or like the genres, but it's more of the same type of movie for the most part. So that is all the Green Lantern news. There is a lot to think about, a lot of first images. We're going to get way more information as we go along with time. Let me know, are you excited for this show, or do you kind of wish that we would have gotten a movie, or any other extra thoughts you have about the Green Lantern show? The next project for the DCU we have to talk about that is under a lot of heat right now is actually CLAYFACE. CLAYFACE is going to be directed by James Watkins. This is a new update where James Watkins is officially going to direct this film, unless he pulls out or says no, he doesn't want to direct it. But right now, he is directing the film, and he's done Speak No Evil, which was last year's horror film, and I loved that movie. I haven't rewatched it since, but the movie did a really good job of just making everything feel gross and eerie, and I really appreciated that about that film. And I think that he will do a very good job of doing CLAYFACE like this as well, and portraying that gross feeling. Because this one, they did say, was supposed to be more of a body horror film, and instead of anything else that you could have thought of. Now, we did get a report from the Hollywood Reporter. This is just basically what James Gunn and Peter Safran have said about the film and what it's supposed to be. And so I'm going to read it to you right now. It says here that this summer cameras are going to roll on CLAYFACE, which is an incredible body horror film that reveals a compelling origin of a classic Batman villain. This is another title that we added to the slate on the strength of its exceptional screenplay by Mike Flanagan. I think some of you are probably aware that we are in negotiations with James Watkins now to direct. We'll start casting this as soon as we have a director deal done, and we'll shoot this summer. It is slated for a fall 2026 release date, and CLAYFACE might not be widely known as the Penguin or the Joker, but we really feel that this story is equally resonant, compelling, and in many ways more terrifying. So there you have it right there. It does look like this movie is already going to start going. There was rumors this week that Daniel Radcliffe was going to be a part of this film. James Gunn came out and said, no, that's not true. And it looks like this movie is going to be rated R. And then they go on to say even more things about this film. And so here's what they have to keep saying about this. One of the things Peter and I talked about when we first got the script is if we were producing movies 5 years ago when we were doing the Belko experiment and all that stuff, and somebody had brought us this horror script called CLAYFACE about this guy, we would have died to have gotten to produce this movie because it was just a really excellent body horror script. And the fact that it's in the DCU is just a plus. So there you have it. It does look like this is confirmed to be in the DCU. This is going to be rated R because it's just dark and gritty. That's what they keep saying. I really do trust James Gunn when it comes to this type of thing. I don't know if everyone's already up for this project, and I hope the budget's smaller than what the typical blockbuster movie budget is, because I don't think they're gonna make all their money back if they do like what we've seen in typical Marvel movies, like 100 million. I think they'll have to go a lower budget than that. But that is all the news we have about CLAYFACE currently. There are going to be more developments as time goes on. Again, they say James Watkins is in talks to direct, but he's already signing paperwork as we speak. And so I think that we'll be getting a actor announced to the public very soon. So let me know what you think about the CLAYFACE film. Are you excited for this film? Do you think it's a waste of time? Or do you just kind of want to see what a body horror film the DC universe has to offer? Also, with the addition of superhero villain movies actually being in the works, we did get confirmation that Deathstroke and BANE, the movie, is actually in the works. This was speculated months past, And there was just kind of no word about it until just now, this past Monday, where James Gunn and Peter Safran said, yes, it is in the works, and they actually have a writer for the movie. The movie itself is being written by the Moon Knight writer, which I didn't love the last 3 episodes of Moon Knight, and so I'm hoping that he does a better job on this one. We get what we get, right? I don't think that James Gunn will allow this film to be made unless that there is something really good about it, though, or really special. So I'm not really worried about the quality aspect of it. I think there's going to be some issues with this movie just because, again, not everyone loved the ending of Moon Knight. We love the character, didn't love the writing of it. And so this movie could potentially still happen or it might not happen. And a lot of people thought this was like a fake named movie so that we could get another movie of Batman that we didn't know about, or a team-up movie. And realistically, I think that this movie does really follow Deathstroke and Bane because we are getting a Clayface movie. So let me know, do you think this movie is actually a Deathstroke movie with Bane, or do you think this is some other movie and they're hiding the actual character from us? Now, here's where we get into the gray territory again, because now we're going to be talking about the dynamic duo movie. This movie follows the Nightwing character as well as Red Hood, and they have to become the best of brothers while going on a mission because they don't really agree with each other and what their methods are for superheroing. And this movie is going to be animated / puppeteering. I don't really know much, but there is an example on screen for you on what it's supposed to look like. This movie does take place outside of the DCU universe for right now. They did say that they really liked the script and they want to put it a part of the DC universe, but they just can't find the way to make it fit as of this moment. So there is a potential possibility that this does end up being canon to the DCU, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, oh well. It's just trying to test boundaries, and that's what this puppeteering animation style is supposed to be. And so let me know if you are interested in at all of this dynamic duo movie. Are you getting excited for this film, or do you think that this is just a weird test in the first place? Also, just a quick mention that we are actually getting a Teen Titans movie. They did say that the script needs some work with it, and that's why they're not making any grand announcements, but we did get confirmed that it is happening. And this is kind of the same thing with the Blue Beetle show as well. It is happening. The scripts aren't as well as what they need to be just yet. So that was all the information we got right there. The next project I actually want to talk about in the DC universe is actually Sergeant Rock. Sergeant Rock is being directed by Luca Guadagnino, and we thought Daniel Craig was going to be starring in the role. However, he was never reportedly in talks or signed on in the first place. And so everyone on internet is saying that the next speculation is actually Jeremy White Allen, and I actually love that pick because, as you guys know, if you've seen The Bear, the guy can scream, and if he's in a war movie, he'll be screaming the whole time. So I think that'll be really, really fun. I do think that casting would be solid, especially because if you've seen the Iron Claw, he has a very wide range of a performance, and I think it would be really cool to see him in a comic book movie. And as well as they also said this movie would be rated R as well, and that it's also very gritty. They keep using the word gritty though. I think that's interesting on how they describe their films. So let me know, did you like this idea of Jeremy White Allen portraying Sergeant Rock, or do you really not care, or do you have a better casting? If you do, let me know in the comments below. Even though there are a lot of great projects that are actually in the works, we actually have a lot, unfortunately, that are on pause at this moment. One of those being is the Swamp Thing character. That movie is paused at this moment. The Authority is another show or movie that has been paused. The Booster Gold show or movie has been paused. And then unfortunately Paradise Lost has been paused as well. All these movies and shows have been paused for different reasons. For example, Swamp Thing, they're kind of just waiting for James Mangold to return to the character. They really want him to direct it, and with him having a busy schedule, he just can't get over there right now, and so they're just waiting on him to direct the film in itself. The Authority, with The Boys currently happening and going on, they're trying to figure out the best way on how to tell the Authority story, because the Authority is essentially the grittier version of the Justice League in the current universe. And so They're just trying to figure out a better way on how to tell that story with The Boys, because The Boys has already outdone the books of The Authority. And then the last one is actually the Waller series. They're just waiting on a better script, as well as Booster Gold. They don't really have any good scripts for those as well. So those, unfortunately, have been paused for the time being. Let me know if you've read any of their comic books that these shows were based on, or these movies were based on. And let me know which one are you wanting to happen most of all, or the one that you're most disappointed by about it potentially not being made. But with that bad happening out of the way, the last good piece of news is that they're actually doing a crossover at the end of 6 years. They have a 6-year plan. I don't know where it's taking them, especially when you have movies such as Clayface and then Superman. I don't know how you can build up a universe like that, but they did say they have a 6-year plan and that it'll all culminate in one event, like a Justice League movie. They didn't say for sure it was a Justice League movie, but they did say 6-year event, meaning that this culmination of this Gods and Monsters universe, or this storyline, will be done in 2031. And I can't wait to see what James Gunn does with this and what they learn from all these different types of experiments. I just think that the DCU right now has a better foothold than what Marvel does. And so this is going to be super interesting to see in the next couple of years. With all that being said, what are the projects that you are most interested in? What are the sums that you're the most worried about? Let me know everything in the comments below, because I really want to have a discussion with you. So if you liked this video, please go ahead and consider subscribing. I do have another news video coming out very soon, as well as a movie review coming out as well. So stay tuned for all of that. And with all that being said, I would hope that you guys stay safe and take care.